All right. Welcome to Streaming with Keegan. This is another interview stream. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and no one's here in the chat quite yet, but I'm here with Paul, otherwise known as Department of Industrial Accidents. Here with me. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you.
Greetings. Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So no one's here yet, but that's fine. Always gonna be people rewatching. I recently upgraded my questionnaire, so it's more organized, and there are more questions, and questions I also let go of.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a trial run of this new questionnaire that I'm trying,
Cool.
and because of that, I'm also, another thing I want to try out that I forgot to mention before, is I was interviewed by a friend of mine, and I really liked his format and inspired me to do the same. I'm going to share my screen, yeah, it's just gonna be, screen one. There's nothing to see yet, but, yeah, I'm just gonna share it. I'm on your website currently, but, we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Okay.
But that's just also so you can see what I see, hear what I hear, that kind of thing. Because we're going to be talking about your music, shit like that.
Okay. I can also see the lag. It's very interesting.
The lag?
Yeah. On both me and you.
Oh, yeah. Are you watching the stream?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. You can also see the key eating me alive right here. Yeah. So let's get down to the questions. So I have these sorted into categories, which again is a new thing for my questionnaire. It's a lot more organized. We've got marketing questions. As indie musicians, we're our own labels and marketing team. These questions might help you broaden your influence and will help us figure out where and how to find you. So the first question is, where can people listen to your music?
The main area would probably be my website at DepartmentOfIndustrialAccidents.net, I believe.
Yeah.
Now,
this is the website. I have the website pulled up on stream now. This is the website. Okay. Yeah. Department of Industrial Accidents.
Yep, there it is right there. Yeah, so I do use DistroKid as my main distribution resource, but when I uploaded my last single, it like embedded it in the middle of my first album, so it's totally screwed up the track order. And they also flipped a couple of the songs around on the first release, so
strange.
I was a little I found that to be a little bit odd. So yeah, it's available in a lot of places, like all the places that DistroKid normally uploads, like Deezer and Apple Music, iTunes, etc. But mostly my website is the main source because that's directly controlled by me. So everything is uploaded as I want it to be heard.
Right. Yeah. Cool. I've never had that issue with DistroKid. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one time, actually, you know what? One time, I think something was released on a Phantom Keegan Clark that was created out of nowhere on Spotify. That was a weird DistroKid bug. I don't remember which release it was, but it was. I didn't like that. But they were very.
Was it like created by DistroKid, or did somebody?
It was created by DistroKid.
Huh.
It was like a Phantom Keegan Clark that had nothing else. It was created by DistroKid because for some reason DistroKid didn't see my established Spotify account for some reason. But I fixed it. I don't even remember what release it was now, but yeah, that was my only problem with DistroKid. All right, so the next question related to marketing. What's the primary platform for your music?
What do you mean? How would you define that?
Okay, well, I guess what's your favorite platform where people would listen to music? Like, what's the platform you put the most work into, and where you would hope people would find your music first? I guess.
Probably again my website. I haven't really interacted. It's funny because my main source for listening is usually through YouTube, but I haven't really investigated setting up my YouTube channel for my own music, and I don't really interact with Spotify. Oh, another place I can't believe I didn't think of this is Bandcamp. I have Bandcamp set up. So I really like them. Some people seem to like them, some people seem to not like them. I found it to be really easy to interact with that website and upload music there and do and add art and things like that. So Bandcamp is also a resource, and everything's in the proper order in which I presented it when I first made the album. So
cool. Yeah, I remember Bandcamp was one of the earliest websites for music that I ever heard of. But I didn't really look into it at the time. I had a friend of mine who released his music to Bandcamp, but I never looked into it. Then I tried SoundCloud, tried that for a while, stopped because I ran out of the amount of songs you could release for free. Then tried YouTube for a while, discovered what mixing was, privated all my videos, and also discovered what distributors were around the same time.
One thing I want to mention is I am probably going to be focusing more on Spotify because as I'm starting to get more conversant with the digital landscape, I'm seeing that it's probably the main avenue for people in terms of a music site.
Yeah, absolutely. Spotify is definitely the primary one. It's not my favorite site, but Abstract.
Welcome to Abstract, how's it going?
Welcome to
I gotta say, if you go to my Spotify right now, it looks a little wonky because I really have neglected it. I don't have a profile pic or a bio or anything like that, but it's something that's on my list of things to do.
Yeah, I'll open it on a tab on Spotify here. Let's go back to this. Yeah. And
my to-do list is rather long, so it's a matter of prioritizing what I can do with the time I have.
Cool, yeah, I see that. It's still pretty nice looking. You got a banner here. It's not unpresentable by any means, but yeah, you could have like a nice bio here.
Yeah, it needs a little polish, definitely.
Sure. But yeah, all right, let's see what the next question is.
You are good. How are you doing? Sorry. No, Abstract asked how we're doing.
Oh. I didn't show up for me as fast, probably because I'm watching OBS. Cool. Yeah, I'm vibing. We're vibing. I'm vibing. Having a good time. Okay, here's a good one. Where and how do you promote your music?
I mean, that's basically what I'm figuring out now. If my two biggest weaknesses right now are on the production side and on the promotion side, I got this course from a website called 2-Story Media about how to promote and market your own music, and I went through. It was actually a course on building a brand, course on doing marketing, and I had vetted them before I spent money on it because, of course, it's like, hey, I'm some guy that can help you promote your music. It's like, all right, I want to make sure this person's legit, and it's an actual website. They do actual music journalism, etc. So right now it's pretty much through being on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'll definitely make sure to do that. But now it's mostly I found. So I joined Twitter in March. And then I saw actually a post from Juju Made It where he was complaining about the Nigerian DJs, and that really resonated with me because as soon as I got on Twitter,
I was contacted by the Nigerian DJs as well. They wanted to put me on the radio station, and I was like, fucking.
I actually had one of them tell me that I was the most played artist of their month, and they were going to fly me out to Nigeria for a press junket and put me up in the house. And I was like, Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. How about I get on a plane today and we'll see about that, you know? So yeah, it was a crazy experience. And so then yeah, I messaged him back and I said, I'm kind of relearning Twitter because I was on it years ago just for general reasons. And then I stepped away from it for a long time. And I was kind of looking around at all the social media platforms and I kind of knew Twitter and I'm more of a text-based communication type of person than I am a visual person. So I wasn't really feeling like Snapchat and Instagram so much.
Yeah, that's
and then
fair.
And then basically he pitched me on the You Spin It crew, and I was about to go on vacation with my family, so I sat on it. I came back, I talked to him some more, I got in touch with Junkie Overtones, and then he basically hooked me up. And basically it's right now going through You Spin It. So I really have a lot to learn about marketing as well. So, but right now that's where I'm at, and it's kind of not to go too tangentially, but I'm building up this project a little slowly right now. I'm really placing a lot of emphasis on teaching myself production because I basically come from I'm a musician from about 6 years of age. I did the music school thing. I studied scads and music theory and that whole side of things. Did all the ear training and did all my harmony exercises and stuff, and a lot of that stuff I'm reviewing now to get it back together, but I kind of know that side of things. The more digital side of things, being producing music in terms of recording, mixing, and mastering, and then building my brand and getting that out there is really where my weak spots are. So I realized that I have to not suck as a producer before I can have an actual viable product to put out there. So right now I'm more about working on the production and building up music slowly, and then when my production skills get to a point where I'm at least satisfied with them, because I know it's one of those things you can mix a record for years. Like I have a friend who has a home recording studio, and he warned me. He said you have to just find a cutoff point that you're satisfied enough with the way it sounds, because you can EQ this, you can limit that, you can compress this, and So basically, I probably need some help figuring out how to market, but it's not as much of a priority for me right now as it is really codifying my production skills as part of my creation process and making a beautifully sounding, noisy record. So, yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. I personally feel like, I still have a long way to go when it comes to mixing and mastering. And I have a lot of songs that are out now on Spotify that I could have done better now, I'm pretty sure. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to take it down. It's part of my history as a musician, and I don't know. I think there's a place for imperfect mixes, or mixes that don't fit the standard of, what constitutes a bad mix is something that you want to be in control of how your music sounds is at the end of the day. Like, I feel like that's the ultimate goal for everyone, is like, if your music sounds the way it does, you want it to be intentional, not incidental or accidental or out of your control.
Right. Well, yeah, to speak to that, the last record, the Blue Skies record that I put out, it's definitely, there are things in that mix that I'm really super dissatisfied with. And I'm not going to go into detail and nitpick it to death. I listened to it a bunch of times after I wrote it. I like the piece of music, even though it may be 10 minutes long, so it's breaking the cardinal rule of modern music making. But that's how long it needed to be. But definitely, once I get my mixing, my producing chops are better, I'm going to reproduce that, because it's definitely not up to the standard that I require. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm not necessarily trying to be like, somebody like Bob Katz or Butch Vig. Those people do that kind of thing for a living, but I definitely see that there's a sort of hazard approach to my production where I know a few things about producing, but there's a lot of question marks that I need to fill in and just develop more of a solid process around how I approach the production side.
Right. Yeah. I definitely feel the same way. Production is also one of my weaknesses as a producer. I've gotten pretty insecure about it before. But it's like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, you'll learn along the way, I guess. And I'm probably gonna make VIP mixes of my rough drafts in the future. I don't know if I'm ever gonna delete and redo things entirely. Maybe, but I don't think so. But any event, yeah, that sounds cool. It's a step in the right direction. And I saw in your blog, you're kind of you learning about like the best vocal mix, right? Like I saw an entry about vocal mixing here.
So I'm going through a platform called mixingwithmike.com, and it's when I set my sites to do something, I research like the I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to find the most qualified person I can emulate in getting my own process together, because there's a lot of things in production that are pretty set in stone, right? Gain levels, panning, these things are pretty universal, gain staging, all that stuff, right? So you just basically have to find somebody who knows how to do it, and then just copy them until you assimilate it into your process. So basically, I found this website called Mixing with Mike. He's like a 35-year recording engineer. He's done records for like Whitney Houston and other high-profile artists. And he's like a totally expert producer. And basically, he put the site together because he knows that not everyone has access to a recording studio.
Mixing with Mike. How does that cost? Does that cost money?
Yeah. It does cost money. You can either pay, there's a monthly subscription, there's a yearly subscription. I pay $200 for a year, which it's about $16 a month. But there's like, it's going to take me a while to exhaust every conceivable resource on that site. And if somebody is a vetted professional that has like serious credentials to the name and they can really, they demonstrate that they actually know what the hell they're talking about, I'm willing to pay them for their time because they put in the effort. And
My hesitance is not about their credentials. My hesitance is I would just be pressured. I just feel like I'd be pressured to absorb that and take it into like, I don't know. Like for me, I kind of have a bad. I've been homeschooled all my life. I've never taken a class. I don't know. Like something about. Just like I feel like it has to be like I guess I'm just paranoid that it'll just go in one ear and out the other, and then I just wasted $200. I guess.
Well, that's part of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Please.
Like the best way, in my opinion, to engage with like a student, especially a student who has a hard time like really retaining information, if it's just talked down to or explained to them with graphs and just I don't know, like, is to have like tests and games kind of, and like to test what you've been taught. Does that have any of that? Does Music with Mike have any of that?
No, it's pretty. So yeah, in that sense, if you're not the kind of person that learns that way, it might not be a viable. It might be a better supplementary resource. He's pretty much what he does is, and I'm going through the fundamentals of mixing course right now, and there are 4 mixing courses. So I'm on, again, I'm coming into it pretty cold, so I wanted to start at the most basic level. What he does is he's using Pro Tools, and he has his camera on his desktop, so you're seeing his virtual mixing board on his computer, and he has a track, and he basically goes through the entire process of how he sets up his recording environment, how he puts a volume meter on all of his tracks for the gain staging, checks the output at the master bus, and then he goes through and he just shows you how he EQs everything, how he creates stems, how he does things like he advocates for mixing at the lowest possible volume level. And he explains that, and he goes into detail as to why he's doing it. So basically what he's doing is, as he's explaining his process, he's doing what he's doing, and then he's articulating his process. So for me, it's kind of like when I encounter something like this where I really intend on becoming proficient at it, I want to see somebody go through the entire process end to end from start to finish, so I can build a mental map of what the entire thing looks like from beginning to end. Yeah. And then I go back and I start to plug in. So for me, in terms of how I learn, this is definitely a medium. And then the blog, not only am I using my blogging as a way to promote myself and what I'm about, but I'm summarizing what I've learned that day. So I have to go back and reflect on the video, and I have to be like, all right, what was the main thing? Like, I could transcribe all of the words and put them up there.
Yeah.
But But if I summarize it, if I can demonstrate to myself that, if you like he was talking about reamping, which is something I just learned about, and I'm still wrapping my head around it as a concept. And when I was summarizing what I was learning about reamping, I realized that I still don't quite get it. So that's, for me, is what you're talking about. That's my self-test, in a sense, is that I say, okay, this 45 minutes or half an hour of video I watched, can I summarize this in a few sentences in a way that I don't sound like a total idiot? And I can articulate the point of view in a, I'm not going to go into all the technical detail, because one thing, I don't have the technical chops to actually talk about it on that level, but also I don't want to plagiarize the guy either. This is kind of how he makes his living, right? So
exactly.
So in that sense, if you can have the discipline to build in a feedback loop to keep yourself accountable around the learning process, then it can work for you. But you do, and I am capable. I have the ability to be like maniacally driven behind something that I get like fascinated by. Sometimes to the detriment of like paying bills and showing up on times for things. But
That's totally fair. Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad that you're able to discipline yourself in that manner and learn what you have to learn with whatever means necessary. I don't know why. It's something about maybe I haven't diagnosed ADHD. I don't know. Even if it's something I'm very, very interested in, like, it has to be taught to me the right way.
Well, I think everybody's like that, actually, and I think part of the problem with our current education system that's been going on for a long time is there's a one-size-fits-all, modality of teaching, which,
good point.
Again, it's not an appropriate way for people to learn.
No, yeah.
And so I think one of the beautiful things about there's a lot of negative things about the internet. People are inspired to be total assholes because they're able to hide behind this cloud of anonymity, and like the worst aspects of themselves are able to come out. And one of the beautiful things is that there's multiple ways to access information. Of course, the other side of it is then you have to vet that information is valid, right? And that's a whole other can of worms. But we won't go down that road because that's a long discussion. But my point is that modern technology has enabled a different blend of learning modalities, which I think are good. Yes, I do have the benefit of I can read a book. I have that ability to like focus on something and really break it down and absorb it until I'm clear that I know. And if I don't know, find the right person to ask or keep digging. So but not everyone has that, So definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. In any event, where were we?
Sorry, I have a tendency to be long-winded, so I'll try to be a little more.
It's totally fine. Like I have a friend who's like that too. Anyway, and to be fair, I kept coaxing you to talk more, incidentally.
True.
All right. Okay, yeah, okay, we did this one. All right, here's a good one. This is one I'm very curious about. How did you come up with your name and subsequently your picture that's like an owl? Where did that come from?
Give me 1 second. I'm responding to Abstract's question here. Sorry. My name, Department of Industrial Accidents. So
right, yeah.
One of the genres that I drew a lot of inspiration from as a child was industrial music. I don't know if you're familiar with like Skinny Puppy or Einstürzende Neubauten. You probably heard of Ministry and Nine Inch Nails, but they're more of like the pop side of that, but like or stuff like Nocturnal Emissions or Throbbing Gristle or early Cabaret Voltaire. This is stuff where it's like very drum machine driven with a lot of like bass synths and samples, and it's very much like a sort of politicized attack on technology, using technology. Anyway, so
nice. I like the sound of that.
So you should check those guys out. I'll send you a bunch of links.
I've heard of Nine Inch Nails, but yeah, send me the other guys.
Okay, I definitely will. Yeah. So I was staying with a friend of mine.
Hi, Box and Musics.
Hey, Box and Music. How's it going? I was staying with a friend of mine, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I'll say this will tell you where we were both at. My first marriage had fallen apart, and I was going through the emotional fallout of the course. And we both decided that it would be good for him to install me in the house with his senile grandmother when I had no training handling people who are elderly.
Oh man.
So I'm like falling apart personally because my entire life is falling apart, and then I have to like deal with his grandmother who's like, she's senile, like she has no like faculties, and I'm trying to figure out how to manage that. So anyway, he was in a town in Massachusetts called Seekonk, and I was looking at the newspaper while I was like making her food, and there was something about the town's Department of Industrial Accidents is investigating such and such, and I was like, that is an awesome name for the kind of project that I want.
Oh, so the Department of Industrial Accidents is a thing? Oh my god.
Yeah, most government entities have a Department of Industrial Accidents. So let's say there's like an oil spill on the highway, or like somebody gets caught up in a machine and ground to death. Like the Department of Industrial Accidents will investigate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So. But
I was wondering if it was a thing or not. If you ever get if you ever, this is an off the cuff question. If you ever get popular enough, would there be like legal confusion?
I would just try to use it to promote myself. So I actually have a quick side story. I was visiting my mother recently, and my sister's boyfriend, I met him for the first time, and I was telling him about my project, and we were talking about something along those lines, some kind of politicized situation that was like of a social nature. And I floated him the link to my band, to my project, and he thought that I was like sending him some hotline for the Department of Industrial Accidents. He was like, well, I'm not going to call them now. And I was like, no, this is my music project. So anyway, yeah, and the owl is Pebbles the Owl. And Pebbles the Owl was a drawing made by my son in his, he had like a life drawing class at his school. And I can't explain it. It's one of those like moments of synchronicity. Like when Industrial Accidents was born, I knew that Pebbles had to be kind of my band mascot. That's really all I can say.
That's totally fair.
It's kind of a testament to my son, and like, you know, and he was totally stoked when he saw that I integrated it into my overall aesthetic. So it's kind of like, you know, referencing him in there. But it's just something about like the slightly like, I don't want to say like judgmental, but there's a slightly ominous cast to Pebbles' face. Like if you really look at it, he looks like he could do. He's not totally possessed of good intent.
Well, I mean, I want to see a picture. I want to see a picture again. Fuck, I gotta look at your where. Your. Fuck, I can't see Pebbles the Owl here. Image of Pebbles the Owl.
If you go to my Twitter, it's my profile pic on Twitter.
Twitter, yeah. Here we go.
That might be the best
no,
place.
wait, well, what? Oh fuck, wait, it happened. Oh no, it's X.
What?
It's X. Oh, have you heard of the fucking? Did you hear what? Oh man, did you hear what Elon Musk did?
No.
Elon Musk was talking about changing Twitter's name from Twitter to X. It happened. Oh my god.
Maybe that's because of Threads and his whole like contest with Mark Zuckerberg. Anyway,
I don't know what the fuck it is, but I heard about it and I was like, holy fucking shit! Twitter is ruined now.
Hey, what if I posted?
Okay, I see Pebbles the Owl though. I'm gonna check on that. Yeah.
He just kind of looks like a little aggro. It's the only way I can explain it. But I don't know. There's something about it that I just also love the drawing. Like if you saw the actual picture of Pebbles, my son did a really good job capturing the essence of Pebbles the Owl. And you know, and it's my son, and I love him, so I wanted to incorporate him into my project somehow.
That's
awesome. Just something about the picture spoke to me, and I was like, if I print T-shirts, and I'm probably going to print T-shirts at some point, Pebbles is going to be on the T-shirt somewhere.
Fuck yeah! I was half expecting you to put Pebbles on. Send a picture of Pebbles for the interview stream.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. And then the logo I basically designed in like 10 minutes in I think it was Paint. I did the DIA in letters, and then I put the eyeballs around there. Kind of looks like a face, kind of cringing. Again, it's tied into the whole industrial aesthetic of being in a state of sort of like being freaked out by the world. Even though I'm not, it's kind of like subtly promoting that. And that ties into my music, which I can expound on more when we get to that.
Yeah. Abstract, the reason why I think Twitter is ruined is because they, and I heard someone else make a good point about this too. Like, Twitter for brand recognition, X is significantly worse than Twitter. Because, like, and also, like, every other social media platform, like Twitter has tweets, right? Like, no other social media platform has a branded name associated with their, you know, their brand, right? And it's just, it's suicide, in my opinion.
See it. I see the X above my messages right now. That's awful. So
Yeah.
we're gonna send out X's now.
Are we sending out X's? Yeah.
Yeah.
It still says tweets here, but like now it says X. Fuck. No. No. This is horrible. Oh, I don't like it. Okay, anyway. Didn't mean to get sidetracked there. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, Abstract. I mean, if Twitter can survive other things like the other horrible shit that's happened, maybe this isn't that big a deal.
Like being bought by Elon Musk.
Yeah, like being bought by Elon Musk.
Anyway, I don't mean to turn this into that kind of a stream, but I just had to have my say there. I'm gonna move on now.
No. I invited it big time. We're not. I'm not. At least I'm not. I don't fuck with Elon Musk, so you're good. He made, like, I used my story about Elon Musk is like I used to be a huge fucking simp for that guy back when he was considered like a futurist, electric car enthusiast, taking us to Mars. Like, you know, like I was starry-eyed. I loved sci-fi. I wanted to go to space. I wanted a colony on Mars. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm starting to get the rose-colored glasses taken off every few months, like 1 month at a time, you know?
Yeah.
I already think he's a piece of shit, but now I'm thinking more and more like maybe he's also a stupid piece of shit, you know? In any event. That's my little rant over. We're not even done with the first segment, I don't think. Yeah, okay, here's the final question in the marketing section.
Okay.
Do you have a centralized place to link all things you? I think I know the answer to this one.
I'm gonna let you answer. What do you think?
It is the Department of Industrial Accidents website.
Yes.
Yes.
It's almost like you knew.
It's almost like I knew. These questions were written out ahead of time, and I just remember you already talked about multiple things that you already disclosed multiple things early on, just as a by the way that I was going to ask you as a question later on, but it's fine. This is how organic conversations work, you know?
Yeah. It's so again, like I'm you know, I got this project going last year and I'm just building it up, and you know, it's like kind of referring back to what I was saying before. I'm not going to really start pushing myself too aggressively until I feel that my production skills are on par. And and I hate to say it this way, please understand, I don't think I'm the greatest musician of all time, but I do think that I have interesting ideas to share. They're definitely for a specific audience.
Sure.
But until my production skills are at least close to being on par with my musical creativity, I'm not going to be really seeking too hard to get myself out there, because I do see that, you know, and again, I know, you know, I'm not planning on spending millions of years like focusing on learning production. I want to give myself a good 6 months to a year to really soak in it in a concentrated way, and then from there on, it's just practicing it. You know, but
just out of curiosity, where are you at? Like, if we want to talk technical, just for a little bit. I know you use FL Studio.
Yeah. So it's funny. I can let Abstract answer that question. So right now, so let me just summarize that. It's my website, like we talked about. I'll probably get a Linktree, but right now I'm being someone who was a freshman in high school the year Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. I have a certain approach that I use, and it's based around websites. Linktree is something I found out about a couple of years ago. Excuse me for itching my nose. There's something in the air right now.
It's all good.
And so I think Linktree is great. I see that it's a way for people to just go down, but it's go down and see everything that's going on. But I'm just like a website oriented person. So
yeah.
And also I would literally have like 4 things on my Linktree.
Yeah. Like that's the thing about having a website. It's like it's even better than a Linktree because you could just link everything that you would have in a Linktree and have more content. So if you have a website, that's an upgrade. You no longer need a Linktree, in my opinion.
Like right now, I have Facebook. I'm looking at you have my website. I have Facebook. I have Bandcamp.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the 8th note is there, but I have Twitter and I have Spotify. What the hell is the 8th
I guess that's
note?
a hyperfollow link.
What is it going on myself? Anyway, is hyperfollow. Okay, whatever that is. I'm not even sure what hyperfollow is, but
think
it's there.
It's a DistroKid thing. I think it was this.
Oh, okay. So
soundtrack for a film about alienation amidst societal decay.
Yeah. So basically, like the blog itself is a work in progress. It went online March, and if you look at the blog is the newest thing that was added to the website, and I mapped 13, 14 blog posts, and there's been a couple of days here and there because like I dropped out for a couple of days because I basically, I had a bunch of like 1:30 a.m. nights when I had to be up at 7 the next day, and I needed to take a break and rest. Right. So I'm kind of building it out as I go, and again, that's in line with my whole thing. I'm seeking to have a polished image, like again, there's you have to find an upper limit, and I'll know that when I hit it. But I know I have a lot of room to grow in terms of my online presence, my production skills, and even honing my compositional process. But that's like the strongest thing that I have going right now. So basically, to get back to the actual question you asked me, my website right now is the best place to look for everything related to the project I have going on.
Good, cool. Nice. I didn't know that until you told me. Thank you. Next section of questions we got here. These are strictly music questions. Which means it's time to talk about the music itself.
Awesome.
All right. First question. How would you describe the kind of music you create?
So I just want to reference something. The first official airing I had was when Abstract streamed Blue Skies on his playlist show the other week, and I put you and him into a trance. And I was
I remember that.
I was joking with my wife that my first step in world domination had been achieved because I had finally learned how to hypnotize people with my music. So, but my music, it's kind of the biggest thing I've done as a musician my whole life is I've listened to a lot of music. And even when I was in music school, I was surrounded by people who would do the harmony exercises, they would like write out their intervals, but they weren't listening to records. And I was like, why are you doing this if like you're not going to actually listen to music when it comes, because we play music, we make music, but you need to be like immersed in your influences, right? It's like authors read books, painters study great painters. So I listen to a lot of music. I listen to classical music. I listen to jazz, country, hip hop, rock and roll, heavy metal, death metal, industrial, like various strands of electronic music. I definitely have my areas that I am most influenced by. I mean, hell, there's even the Teach the Children song by Whitney Houston. I love that song. It's a total pop cheese fest. First of all, she was one of the greatest vocalists of all time, but it's a really well-written song. So for me, it's more about like I try to draw influences from things that I find that are really musical and that the person is really trying to express themselves genuinely in terms. I don't care about genre, right? And I
relate to that. I've related to everything you said so far, but yeah, go on.
Cool. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, it's fine. I cut you off first. You were still talking.
The biggest thing that annoys me is when you have a bunch of people my age hanging around in like black metal t-shirts arguing about who's more cult. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're like 45 years old. You need to like find a different way to have a relationship to music. It's kind of like when I was in high school. I was in high school when The Chronic dropped, and in retrospect, I can understand that as being like, one of the mainstream hip hop masterpieces. The production's incredible. about it is amazing. But the thing about it that was alienating for me as a kid is I grew up in this upper middle class town full of white kids, and there's all these white kids whose parents are doctors and lawyers and CPAs, and they're wandering around in triple fat goose jackets, like being like, yo, 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 yo. And I was like, I listen to classical music, and I'm not. You don't see me wearing like a pair of knee breeches and a powdered wig, like I just that whole thing kind of always kind of turned me off. But basically, sorry for the rant. I just went off on that tangent for a minute. But basically,
no worries.
The music I make, it's kind of like if you took like the idea of compositional form as it's delineated in the realm of classical music, like you look at works of composers like Haydn and Mozart and Beethoven, and the way that they would take a melody and a set of chord progressions and they would develop an entire piece. Then you take modern production with like hip hop beats and a lot of like driving industrial beats, some aspects of underground metal, and then you add a healthy dose of noise on top of that, a la like free jazz and like really outside music. That's kind of like a summary of the kind of sound I'm going for. I don't want it to be pure chaos.
No, there's definitely a method to your madness, and I can hear that.
Right, but I don't want it to be completely clean either. Like, one of my goals as a producer is to almost make the actual production sound beautiful and then put like a layer of smog on top of it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I love like learned styles of music where people are deeply schooled and they've really learned how to weld their creative faculty to a deep understanding of music theory and have evolved their thought process. Like Mozart was writing symphonies in his brain and then notating them on paper. And there's a certain like power in that. But then sometimes you get a musician like Leadbelly, who, if you've never heard of him, he was this black man that lived in the first half of the 20th century, and he had this 12-string guitar, and he knew something like 1,500 folk songs. He just had them embedded in his brain, and he would just get up there with his folk song. He didn't know any music theory or anything. He just was like one of the most naturally musical people that ever lived, and he would just belt out these like anti-slavery songs, these like protest war songs, these American folk songs, and he would just belt it out with his massive voice and this 12-string, and it was like one of the most moving experiences that you'll ever have, like if you're into that kind of thing. So yeah, so I'm kind of drawing from all those things. I want my music to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't want it to be so analytical that it has no life. I want it to be yeah. So I want it to be like have an evolved process around it, but what I really want to do is I want people to have a cathartic experience when they listen to my music. I don't want them to be unmoved. I don't want them to be I'd rather have them virulently hate me and think that my music is completely terrible, but be honest in the fact that they hate me than be indifferent to the music I make.
Yeah, that's fair, honestly. That's fair. Like, just a strong reaction either way, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. It's kind of like a combination of classical music, jazz, especially moving jazz side, industrial and electronic, kind of like mixed together, and with a heavy dose of emotion to really like drag you in. And I want people to be transformed by the sounds I make.
Yeah. Like, if I could just tell you, if I can just share with you like my general takeaway, at least when it comes to listening to Collapse. I've listened to your other songs too, but I've listened to Collapse the most, as you could probably imagine why. Oh, that's not, here we go. Yeah, just like, if I listen to one of your songs, I'm currently listening to, listening. I haven't muted right now for the interview.
Yeah.
But, I'm listening to a daily playlist right now. Yeah, like, I remember listening to Collapse, and it was, I don't know, it's like there's almost like a level of like element of like horror to it, if that makes sense. Especially the cover you chose. It's like uncanny almost. Just like it feel, especially the detailed description. I don't remember like societal unrest during trying times or whatever it was. I don't remember what the exact. I don't remember the exact phrase, but it was like it gave me it gave off unsettling vibes, and that's not a bad thing. I enjoyed it. But it was like it reminded me of almost like a indie like analog horror type I don't know, like, you know, something like that, something indie, something, you know.
I will float you a link to Two Skinny Puppy Records, Two Dark Park, and Last Rites, especially Last Rites, because I think you'll hear not aesthetically we don't sound the same, but I think you'll get the same vibe. So that specific album, it's one of those things, you know these things go. You don't like the real creative side. You can engage in all the technical planning, but when the creative side kicks in, for me especially, I have to compartmentalize. Like when I'm doing my music theory review and I'm doing my production studies, I'm very analytical and tapped in. But when I'm actually creating music, I actually push it aside and kind of let it come through my intuition in a sense. So when I'm creating, I'm not being too premeditated unless I have to like engage that in during the moment of creation. So this kind of thing came about. This first release, soundtrack for a film about alienation amid societal decay. It's a soundtrack for a fictional documentary exploring themes of alienation. So this documentary doesn't exist in the world, but it was like, what is the sound of alienation? Like, what does that sound like? Because if you read my bio on my website, I went through child abuse. I grew up in an alcoholic household. I went through it. I was suicidally depressed for a long time and drugged out, and I tried to commit suicide a few times, like many years ago. I'm well past that. But,
yeah.
So in my own way, I'm intimately associated with the idea of being completely, robbed of your agency and disenfranchised. And I think I'm at a point now where I'm able to process it by putting it into my art. And ultimately, I don't want to freak anybody out or put anything out into the world, but there is a kind of vibe to my music that's like that. But like I said, I want it more to act in the realm of like getting people engaged emotionally. I don't want to outright promote negativity or hatred. That's not at all what I'm about.
No, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing either.
Right, yeah. One funny thing I want to mention is that because I use the name documentary, and this can serve as a warning to you in boxing music, if you put the word documentary in your title and you'll upload it to DistroKid, it'll require you to register it as a documentary, because it's like, this is a documentary soundtrack, and the AI takes the word documentary a little too literally. But I found that out through trial and error. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does that with like if I tried putting like a parenthesis, sometimes I'll put a parentheses. I'll put parentheses over a name over, because sometimes I want to give a song two names, right? I'll have parentheses for a secondary name you could call a song, and it thought I was gonna feature an artist. It was like, you need to put featured artist down here. Yeah, I mean they really want you to go by the books there.
Yes, they do.
It's really it's quite funny.
So so that's basically, and that's the same thing with Blue Skies. Like the lyrics, and that's another thing I want to remix that, because my vocals are way too buried in the mix. I want them to be on top of the mix, and they're like in the middle of the mix. But anyway, it's like, if you read the lyrics, it's kind of touching on those themes. It's touching on themes of a similar thing, like questioning the nature of reality and like what is it all about. And
I remember listening to Blue Skies. See, compared to your other one, it's still the same like vibe, but it's still you, but it's like it's not I wouldn't classify it as horror. It's more like tranquil, and it still has like that drug trippy type vibe, like just like,
that's awesome.
Like you're on a psychedelic journey, like something like that, It's got that aesthetic. I've never taken psychedelics in my life, but that's the vibe I get. Anyway, what's the next question here? Right? Okay, here we go. What do you like about I guess, I don't know if you answered this effectively, but I'll ask the question anyway. What do you like about the genres of music you create? You talked about how your life influenced the genre.
Well, my wife has pointed out to me that I have a deep interest in fundamentals and anything that I get into, and she's right. I like to like drill down to like first principles and things. And when I went to music school, I was originally going to school to study jazz, and I still have a deep love of jazz. But over the course of that, I really gravitated towards Western classical music because, even nowadays, aesthetically speaking, we're so far removed from that. But like what those composers did, what people like J.S. Bach and Franz Joseph Haydn and Mozart and Beethoven and Schumann and Schubert and Chopin and Liszt, etc., is they really codified the laws of how our music operates. And the interesting thing about musical laws is that you can either can tap into them overtly or indirectly. But when it comes right down to it, all music is made of pitch and rhythm for the most part. You either have things you either have beats or you have la la la. That's really it. That's all music is when it comes down to it, is various combinations of pitch and rhythm. Mm-hmm. And that's the fascinating thing about music is you have thousands of different styles around the world. There's all these different responses to that have sprung up culturally. But yeah. So for me, the thing I love about classical music specifically is the sense of compositional form. That's in terms of Western music, there's no I guess genre, but I mean there's no realm of music making that's as compositionally sophisticated as classical music. This idea of writing a sonata or a symphony or a string quartet and following certain principles that develop with a 1,000+ year history, but there's definite hallmarks that separate specific things, and there's and it requires a deep theoretical knowledge of the inner workings of music from that standpoint. Music theory is another thing. There's thousands of variations on music theory. We always think that what Western musicians did music theory, but there's a lot of different approaches. So that's kind of that. Is I love the deep thinking of these musical thinkers as they absorbed the principles and tapped into their creativity and welded the two, and they were able to come up with these really deeply profound musical statements that people are still resonating with hundreds of years later, right? So yeah. What I like about jazz is the expressivity of improvisation, and especially free jazz. I don't know how much free jazz you've listened to, and you get the saxophones going like that kind of thing. I love those textures. I love those really abrasive textures, and really opened me up to the idea of using noise as a musical element, like repurposing noise as a musical element in my structures, and those kinds of abrasive textures. And then pretty much everything else, I just love the timbre and textural quality of electronic music. How you can take a bass drum and you can EQ it a million different. Like a hip hop bass drum does not sound like a house music bass drum. Does not sound like they're all bass drums. They're all just these kick drums laying out the fundamental beat. But if you get a producer like Timbaland versus Al Jorgens from Ministry, they're going to EQ and compress those bass drums in very different ways. And so the thing I love about electronic music is you have this infinite variety of choice. Yeah. And so for me, that's kind of taking my continued learning in the Western classical tradition and the jazz tradition, taking that idea of compositional form and then recontextualizing it in the current context. And that's one of the things I love about what you're turning me into with hyperpop and funk. And what's going on in the UNEU Spin It crew is a lot of these people who are way better producers than me, they're finding all these really interesting timbral qualities to different things and different aesthetic qualities and how they use their music studio as musical instruments. So it's kind of all those things are functioning in different layers in my consciousness. And then I just love distortion and feedback. And for the record, I think the ring mod is the greatest effects pedal ever created. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I love that too. Ring mod is very fun. I use it sometimes.
Oh, you do? Oh, awesome. Yeah, I was just going to say, I like to, one of my favorite things to do is put a ring mod on a drum sequence.
I've never used it on drums. I've used it on vocals before, but there's almost nothing I've never not subjected vocals to.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Your stuff too, man. Keegan, you're really, I haven't had, part of the problem is that there's so much going on, even in the ESE crew, that I'm trying to tap into what everybody's doing. And Juju Made It, that guy's coming out with a track every single week. Abstract has so much stuff. Oh yeah. Junkie Overtones does. All of these people have so much music. So it's it's very difficult to listen to all of it. but the few things I've heard from you, like I heard crickets and then I heard bounce, both different. That's right.
Built
And
different,
just the
yeah.
stuff the stuff you're doing in there production wise, it's really stimulating my thinking and pushing me to just like improve my skills as a producer.
Thank you. That's a compliment, considering
so,
I'm not very confident with my mixing.
Well, you're way ahead of me, man. So take it, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah,
but I mean,
for the record, for what your songs are, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in your head, and I don't know what you want your end result to sound like, but it sounds fine as it is, in my opinion.
Well, I will say that what I achieved in terms of the production, and I will admit that there was a lot of Neutron and Ozone. If you know the Isotope plugins, there was a lot of like.
I've heard of Ozone. I use Maximus though. I don't use Ozone.
Okay. So Isotope has a lot of AI built-ins, and they have a lot of like pre-made effects chains. So when I was mixing that record, I definitely did some stuff with like I bounced my own stems and all that. But when it came, especially on the mastering side, I just like screwed around with presets. Blue Skies was a little rushed because I had an external deadline on myself. I would actually like to have a week or two longer to mix it and master it, but I didn't want to like say, oh, you know, I was going to release it on this date. It was like more important to meet the deadline at that point. So actually, even though there are things on the Societal Decay record that I don't love, I am actually more okay with the production on that than I am with Blue Skies. I'm really like cringing about the way Blue Skies sounds. But yeah, so anyway, that's just to round out what I was saying. So basically, the idea is within a highly evolved compositional structure, I want to create. I'm not into like verse chorus structures, which again, there are people that are amazing songwriters, and if I say I'm not into something, it's because I'm like think it's inferior. It's just I know my own thought process, and I'm more into the idea of the what they call like developing variation or continuous progression within classical music, where you take a basic idea and you keep expanding and moving it different ways. But I want to like put that space into a modern electronic music production, and then again, I want to fill it with a heavy amount of emotional content that like. And I don't want to, it's funny you say horror movie vibes, because I really want to, like I said, I really want to affect more of a sense of catharsis in people. Like I want people, like one of my favorite musicians is John Coltrane, and his music for people that love it, it's almost like a religious experience. Like you almost come out of it like cleansed of something, or I want people like to actually have that kind of experience with music. I don't want it to just be a laid back listening experience. I want them like riveted, and not because I think I'm amazing or anything, but that's just what I'm driving at. I want that like. So that's
another like fuck I'm forgetting the dude's actual name, but because he makes other I'm sure you are familiar with Everywhere at the End of Time.
I haven't listened to the whole album because it's like 6 hours long, but
neither have I, but like I don't know if the specific album Everywhere at the End of Time is a perfect one-to-one comparison, but like I don't know, just that guy, the caretaker, and that's just the character he goes by for Everywhere at the End of Time. I don't know, I think his last name is Kirby. Is it fucking hell, I don't know. I don't remember his name. But just like that kind of vibe. Like I don't know, it almost, of course, there's still rhythm in some of your songs, but like I don't know, it's like it just gives me that kind of vibe. Like I'm not saying, when I say horror, I don't necessarily mean it's devoid of like surreal substance. Like a lot of the really meaningful shit, I think, like a lot of the surreal like shit that affects me is stuff that has an element of horror to it. Almost, but it's not.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're not saying like slasher flick. You're saying that there's a deep sense of like being unsettled in the space of the unknown.
Unsettled, but also like influence. Like I don't know. Like
yeah.
It's another surreal thing. Another surreal thing that I'm aware of is also like, this is not a musician. I mean, he does make music, but he mostly also just like makes surreal indie films. Treats for Beasts.
Treats for Beasts. No, I've never heard of him, so I will. Just gonna open up a tab here real quick.
He's a YouTuber. He kind of utilizes humor, but also like it's kind of crude, but also like there's a lot of it's very surreal and almost unsettling, but it's some of his like especially live action indie films. Like I'm thinking of one in particular, forget the name of it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know. It contains an element of horror as well as like an element of like I don't know, philosophy, just fucking oh man, I don't know how you would describe it. Fuck. But just yeah.
One more thing I want to mention in passing is I've been a practicing Hare Krishna devotee for about 25 years, and that also the Vedic philosophy, the personalistic theistic philosophy. I'm not going to go off into too much of a tangent there, but that definitely plays into my music too, especially in terms of the lyrics.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's a whole separate discussion. So that I was thinking about how to phrase it because that's something that can be discussed at great length, and I don't want to necessarily turn this into a religious discussion per se, but it is definitely again I've been practicing the spiritual path for a quarter of a century now, so it's definitely a deeply personal part of my expression. But that's in there as well too, and that shapes a lot of the lyrical content. As well, but in an oblique way. So I'm gonna make that kind of a somewhat indirect statement to leave an air of mystery.
Okay. Okay. Another good music question. What song or collection of songs are you most proud of and feel like reflect you the best?
Well, I'd say this. It's funny. I also have.
So wait, what's this? What are you referring to when you say this?
When you say collection of songs, do you mean my own or?
I guess of the songs that you have out, but I'm guessing
pretty much what I have out now because I mean, I'm just getting started with this project, so I don't really have too much more beyond what's currently there.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And the thing is like I've been a musician for, again, like we were talking about, I'm 47. I've been a musician since I was about 6 years old. It's only been within the last couple of years that I've, come to a place of, I alluded to the fact that there was some, inappropriate things in my childhood, and they really negatively affected me for a long time in terms of my self-esteem, and all that stuff. And, and in a way, like, releasing the record, it was kind of like a testament to the fact that I'd finally gotten to my level. I was like confident enough and organized and integrated enough as a person to actually create an artistic statement and put it out into the world. So regardless of how the music itself is perceived, I'm just stoked that after all this time, 3 decades, I finally have something to show for like the thousands of dollars and hours of time I put into this art form. And so so from that standpoint, it's like this is the stuff I'm most proud of because it's something that I've actually gotten done.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if you can see the chat, but this is my prior music project, Martyr to Progress. It only lasted for a few tracks, partly because
the chat. You like the stream chat?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, I can. I can send it to on Discord too. I can just message it to you.
Okay.
But that was a project that was the precursor to DIA, Martyr to Progress. And part of the reason why it only lasted for 4 tracks is I was running Studio One on an LG laptop, which they're a garbage product. Don't ever buy an LG laptop. And one day, Studio One had spontaneously uninstalled all my VST plugins, and then it just went into this death spiral. So I just got really frustrated and stepped away for a while. So, yeah, that production style is called no production style. Like those are like basically raw demo tracks. I just messaged you the.
I see that.
The progress. Yeah. So that's kind of, and that one's kind of cool because again that was another achievement, but that was kind of like a more of a warm up for DIA, which I'm going to just be driving as my main project for the foreseeable future.
Cool. Cool. All right, here's another good one. Here's another again, something you touched on before, but I don't know if you could spin it in a different way or if I should just skip it, but the question is, what message are you trying to convey with your music?
So here I can talk about my spiritual tradition a little bit, along with other things.
All
So,
right.
yeah, so I've been and yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to like get all preachy on anybody or anything.
Sure.
So I got into Krishna consciousness when I was in my early 20s, and essentially it's a personalistic theistic tradition. It draws from the same source material that people know of as Hinduism, but this is a monotheistic tradition. And there's definitely an aspect of kind of like there is an aspect of this being kind of an act of devotion in a sense, the music I make, but it's more of a covered way of presenting it, which is kind of, I know, an oblique statement to make. Like, I'm not out there like directly representing my spiritual tradition in terms of like dressing up in the outfits and speaking and referencing the Bhagavad Gita or some other book like that. But there is a definite aspect of my connection to my understanding of who God is and my relationship to that personality and what I believe is everyone's connection to that personality. So there's that. But it's also from a more musical side, drawing especially from Skinny Puppy, in that it's like acknowledging that there's a lot of screwed up things in the world and that there is people are in a lot of pain and suffering, but to provide acknowledgement and understanding that we're all kind of going through our own thing, and to provide people like a safe space to kind of like let those emotions out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of I guess in that sense I can really understand it, because there is a definite darkness in my music, but again, I don't want it to be darkness in the sense of like a death metal band where you're just wallowing in misery and you just want to inflict that misery on another, and there's all this like very gory, like sadistic imagery or just like very hate-filled images. It's not like that. It's more like there's light at the end of the tunnel, but this tunnel is full of shit and we have to slog through it to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. I don't want to make like bubblegum pop music. I want something that has an edge. I want something that's going to be jarring to people. And that's where like I draw influence from the industrial thing, because like bands like Einstürzende Neubauten, they're a German industrial band. It's German for like destroying brand new buildings or something like this. They would mount these shows where they would have literally flaming drums. They would build their own instruments out of like pipes and tubing. They would be like cutting metal with saws as part of like circular saws as part of the act, and screaming into and it was very much like this protest against the state of like the current world. Well, there's this other group called Caters, who their live act get up is they wear suits and ties with balaclavas. You know what a balaclava is? You know, it's the face mask where you just have the eyes and the mouth hole cut open, and it's like let's see.
I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of masks like that.
It's like the typical mugger mask. But,
yeah, like a head sock with eye.
Yeah, just the eyes and the mouth cut out. Yeah, the Russian term is balaclava.
Got it.
And like New Blockaders, their whole thing is blockading everything because everything needs to be destroyed so that everything can be recreated. Like they have a piece of music where they play the first movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, and then after that they go into this 45-minute just like noise fest where they're just like banging on typewriters and smashing up against stuff, but it's completely planned out. And then after that they go back and play the first movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. So this element of I want to kind of jar people from their sense of complacency, but in a way not to like horrify, but to like, provide that space to kind of let their emotions out, but maybe to also get people to contemplate the state of things.
Yeah. Hey, Alex.
Hey, how's it going? So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Is like I said, I am a theistic person. I'm not an atheist, and I have a very deep commitment to my spiritual path, and I do want to present elements of that. But I also don't want to bash people that and be overly preachy. Everybody's sick of the like end times Christians and their like nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Religious tradition is positing the idea that spirituality can be fun, which I know is a crazy notion, but that's how it should be. But the other side of it is if somebody's not interested in that way, I want people to come out of listening to my music feeling differently about themselves and the world around them. You know? Yeah, I would love to get to the point where bills doing this and quit my job, that would be awesome, of course. Or my pipe dream would be to have some producer attach a piece of my music to a movie, and I can make a ton of royalties, and then therefore not really have a commitment to anything, but be financially independent. Like that'd be cool. But but in a way, I'm more committed
Also,
to the idea of.
Sorry, Alex was here. Said he was in a car accident. Are you okay? I mean, you said nobody. You said you said no one was hurt, but what happened?
Yeah, let's turn the floor over to Alex. I don't know you, Alex, but I hope to hit me up. Let's chat in the Discord at some point. Yeah, I hope you're okay, man, and your friends and whoever you're with.
Yeah, Alex is the friend I was talking to you about, who you remind me of in some respects. At least,
cool.
Yeah. I was raised. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, thank you for stopping by the stream when you've been in a car accident.
Yeah,
If you want to prioritize your health and well-being over listening to me talk, I'm not going to hold it against you, man. So, but thank you for being here. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Here we go. What's the next question? Okay, here's another one. What new genres have you considered trying out, if any at all?
God, well, I feel like I'm just starting to learn new music, and the thing is it's like, that's one thing about me, even though I'm like technically like almost eligible for my ARP card, another thing my wife remarks about me is I'm unlimitedly curious, and I still am. That's why I was like asking you the day, I'm like, what is what is funk? Like, I know I know I'm an old man now, but like, what is this stuff? And then I checked out 100 Gex, and
yes,
that was definitely an interesting experience.
Yes, oh my God, let's fucking go.
Yeah, the most wanted man in the country or something like that. And
they turned on the news, and it said that I was the number one most wanted person in the United States.
And that melted face mask that he was wearing. Yeah, so in a way, like, I've listened to so much music at this point that like there's a certain way in which like things kind of sound more recontextualized in a sense than outright new. And I hate saying that because I'm gonna be like, I've listened to so much music. It sounds totally like a dickhead thing to say, but like nothing really phases me. Like, I'm not someone that like, you could put on like a hip hop record, or you could put on a country record, or you could put on some Japanese no music, or like just the most like grotesque like noise, like harsh wall noise record.
Alex said, sorry to interrupt you again. Alex says they're like what Ween was, but to Gen Z. I feel like Ween is still a little bit more diverse than 100 Gex, but yeah.
I'm gonna totally date myself. I made that Tim Berners-Lee comment in the World Wide Web. I was in high school. Pure Guava came out, the Ween album with Push the Little Daisies and the Pumpkin song. I listened to that album for like 8 months straight. That album like blew my and the Pod. If you guys have never heard Pod, Ween album, the Pod, and the cover is a sepia-toned cover with a friend of theirs wearing a business suit, and they have made a bong out of Scotchgard like plugins that he has wrapped around his face. There's like 57 tracks on that record. The record will blow your freaking mind. Look up the Pod by Ween. That album is a classic. But
I haven't heard all the songs by Ween, but I've definitely gotten into Ween.
Cool. But yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of stuff, like even coming into You Win It, You Spin It, like what I'm noticing now is, so back when I was a kid, like I got into Black Sabbath in like 1990, and that was mind blowing. I got the first Sabbath record, which if you listen to metal, you have to listen to the first 6 Sabbath records. I'm just saying. And that was still when record labels were a thing. The internet was just coming into existence. Nobody was online, so you still had to like go to record stores. You still had to like. I remember like taking. I feel so funny to say this. I remember like filling out envelopes and mailing $10 to some death metal band in the middle of Des Moines, and they'd send me their like hand-drawn tape cassette, like and I'd listen to it, and but it was like things were way more compartmentalized then. You had your and one of the things I love about now, because I'm so eclectic in my tastes, is yes, in a way it sounds more like recontextualizing, but what's happening is everybody's kind of like, they're making this sort of like oral soup where like there's nothing is off limits anymore.
Yeah.
And what's cool about it is and I disagree with people that's like, oh, music sucks now. The problem, and I'll get into my opinion on that. The thing is now is that people are actually coming up with new ways of doing the same thing. Where like 100 Gex is basically like this like indie pop band, but nothing sounds like that.
Yeah,
like, there are things I could draw like reference points to, and I don't ask me to do that because it was very intuitive. I only listened to a couple of their tracks, but there are things I could draw reference points to. But they don't sound like anyone. But they're and so that's I feel like in a way, even though I've gotten it together a little later in life, I feel like I'm kind of more contemporary with what's going on now than when I was 18, because it was like you either had to do this style of music or you had to do that style of music, and I was like, well, why can't we take like the way they play chords in jazz and put it over in an IDM dance beat and then like have a distorted, like why can't we do that? You know, and that's the kind of thing that's happening now. And I find that as I'm getting out there and starting to explore what's going on now, it's really like a massive turn on to my creative side, because I'm like, yeah, these people are finally doing what I wanted people doing for a long time. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love, there are times when I just want to listen to a Beethoven sonata, get inside that sound world and be in like 18th century Vienna or whatever. I want to listen to a Coltrane record and be in New York in the 60s. But there's a lot of times now when I want to just like see what's going on right now, and it's so amazing to hear how people are just cross-pollinating.
Yeah, and just, it's crazy how it just evolves naturally. And it looks like Alex. Looks like Alex. Sorry, it looks like Alex dropped the bombshell of a question that I was going to ask you, because he and I had a conversation in DMs about it. Do you use chip speech? Alex seems to think you do.
I've never heard of chip speech.
Oh.
So cool. No,
okay.
So what I want to know is what led to that question and that supposition, and because I'm curious to know like what you're hearing in my music.
Alex thought he heard like, so you heard of, have you heard of software automatic mouth?
Nope.
From the Commodore.
That sounds terrifying.
From the Commodore 64 computer.
Wow, so this is
or
a new thing.
Atari, yeah. From
okay,
Atari.
No, I've never heard of software automatic mouth. No.
Or just, I'm sure you've heard of Macintalk, right?
Nope.
What?
This is all completely brand new.
Macintalk?
I've never heard of Macintalk.
Stephen Hawking. You've heard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I shouldn't.
No. Yeah. That's an entirely different thing on its own. Like it is interesting how I do like. God, that's a tangent all of its own. I feel like so many people. I feel like it's become so normalized to either talk about Stephen Hawking's voice in a semi-disrespectful kind of way, but in a way, like, I feel like many people talk about it in, like, I'm guilty of this too, but I've never thought about it in, like, a mocking type of way. I always kind of admired that aspect, but it's like, it's still a weird thing to focus on in hindsight. But anyway, that was an entirely different tangent related.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Alex, find the track I did. I'm curious.
I'm talking specifically about like, you should. Fuck. Okay. Yeah. Alex is going to have fun filling you in about chip speech. Holy shit.
So I have to assume this relates to something in my vocal production. I'm assuming.
Must be.
That's what you. So there was a lot of me going like that into the microphone, and then just putting like effects on this channel strip in FL Studio. Like, it's funny, I'm the same way as you. Not only will I put ring mods on drum sets, but I'll put like, do you know Mishby and Dumpster Fire and Backtrack? Oh, what the hell is it?
Did you put a ring mod on your vocals?
I did at one point, yeah.
In Collapse?
I think I may have, yeah.
Maybe that's what he heard. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where he could have heard Sam. I didn't hear Sam.
Yeah. Freak Show Industries. Is anybody familiar with the plugin company called Freak Show Industries?
Yes.
Okay. I have all of them. I have Backmask. I have Mishby, and I paid because I was like, as soon as I saw them. Also, first of all, the UI is hilarious on all of them.
Yeah. I was kind of personally, like, I'll open FL Studio here. I don't know if there's something wrong with my copy of one of the. I did pay for it. I didn't steal it. I didn't steal it. But fuck, I don't. Oh man. I kind of forgot. I already forgot the name of the fucking plugin.
He really thinks it was a computer voice. Yes, it absolutely was. Yes. So, yeah, no, I did things like that. I use pitch things and stuff. I use reverb on. Like, I'm not talking about like. There's another company. They make Valhalla Supermassive. What the hell are they called?
I guess.
Cool,
Well,
anyway.
Let me ask you another question. Do you know what Vocaloid is?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm telling you, of this stuff is. This is so outside my realm, which is awesome. I'm so happy this is coming up because it's something that I can, expand to like encompass maybe.
So have you heard of Vox and Music's? Have you listened to Vox and Music's songs?
Nope.
Okay.
No, hook me up.
Okay. Well.
Send it in Discord or something.
Vox and Music's. I'm saying that only because Vox and Music's is in the chat, and you might have.
Oh.
You might have listened to her stuff. I don't know. I don't know if she's still here or she left, but she makes Vocaloid music. Vocaloid is a. So you've heard of text to speech. It's basically like text to song. It's a Japanese company. Japanese instrument. It's a voice synthesizer where you can basically I am terrible at explaining these things. But it's basically you could drag and drop notes like you would in a DAW, except you can assign you can assign syllables to those notes, and it's like a singer. You can make a singer. You can make you can make the notes sing lyrics. Here, let me pull up. Do you have the stream open?
Yeah, I'm actually facing the stream right now, which is really tripping me out because we're like, because our actual in-time discussion is very asynchronous with like I'll like do something like this and then like 5 seconds later, yeah.
But like I'm talking about like the Discord stream here.
Oh, the Discord stream. No, but I have Discord open. It does not auto open. So we're going into MusicSpace.
So I have a voice synthesizer open right now, actually. Do you see it, or is it connected to, it might be connected to my browser, so you might not be able to see it.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Okay, yeah, let me, maybe just look at the stream then instead.
Yep.
No. You see I have a DAW open here? This isn't... Alex, I know you can see it.
No, I can see it. Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is not Vocaloid. This is Synthesizer V. I'm showing this one to you because it's even better than Vocaloid. Better than Vocaloid in the sense that the vocals are even easier to understand than Vocaloid. I'm going to move the display capture here so you can see more of it on this side. Hey, Vox and Musics, you're still here. Vox and Musics, you can explain it as well. Think of a keyboard, but everything you play, it's a voice. So I'm going to do something here. Let's see. This is I need to select a voice. Let's do Solaria here. I have no idea what to say. I'll do the fucking sponge. I'll do like the SpongeBob best day ever. Cause why the fuck not? I just need to do something. Insert lyrics here. This is delayed for you, of course, but you can probably see what I'm doing. A little delayed. You might also have to listen to the stream itself. So I'll stop talking, I guess. Or you can mute me on Discord. I don't know.
Best day ever.
Yes, Abstract, it did. But hey.
That's a little long. That's a little.
I can't hear anything.
Best day ever. Best day ever.
If you don't mind, after this, I would like to expound on my gear a little bit.
Oh, sure. This is a fucking this is a tangent to end all fucking tangents. Okay, yeah, we're not even close to done with these. Right, Alex? Right? Yeah, it's really realistic. Anyway, discard. Okay, back to the important stuff.
I just want to say I appreciate everyone's input because this is opening me up to a whole world of sound production that I knew nothing about at all. So that's what I really love about this, man. Is I'm now it's a dangerous thing though because I have a feeling I'm going to be up till 4 o'clock in the morning. Just a half hour and I'll go to bed and then I'm gonna be like a crack addict at like 5 a.m. So anyway.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right.
Thanks, Abstract. Thanks. When are you gonna make any music? Did I ask that question? Fuck, I don't know. I think this is the last question of the music questions.
Okay.
All right, no more sidetracks. I'm doing this. We're doing this. And the last question of the music questions: what do you get out of making your music?
I've just always been musical. I actually talked to my composition teacher about this. I take like classical composition lessons twice a month with the guy I met on YouTube. He goes by the Classical Nerd. He's on a doctoral track and he's a total geek. So I was like, it's somebody I can relate to. But I posed this to him because I'm like, and I can put this to everyone here. Like, none of us are making money. We have to take time out of our lives away from other things. But somehow all of us in our own way are obsessed with this idea of putting music together. I'm losing sleep over this. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not at a point in my life where I can. And when I was in my 20s, I could stay up all night. In my late 40s, to function on 5 hours of sleep for like 3 days, it really starts to get to me. But now that I'm back doing this, it's like a drug. I have to sit down every day and engage in my sound world. So it's more like an innate compulsion or a need to just get some kind of sound out of myself and into the world. And I know that it's the case because I stepped away from it for a number of years when I was sorting through a lot of my personal damage. I actually quit playing music. And the whole time I was reminding myself, quote unquote, why I don't play. Like, and it's like what I was really doing was just justifying like why I was stepping away from like who I was as a person in certain respects. So it's something about it. I have like an inner need, a drive to just sit down and organize sound.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain it. Again, it doesn't like
I feel like that's
one standpoint.
I feel like that's been everybody's answer here, and that's like, because in many ways it's like that's why I do it. That's why Abstract does it. That's why a lot of people do it. We're not making money. I mean, I made like, I don't remember, like, I think I made like over $40 in a year with my distributor.
Exactly.
That's like nothing. That's not gonna help me financially, but like, it's not why I'm doing it either. We're doing it because we like it.
But that said, like I said, I am, especially at this point in my life, I'm not adverse to the idea of earning from my music. You know what I mean? Like,
no, neither am I. I'd love
to,
but
when I was a kid, when I was, when I only had my only responsibilities were to my drug dealer and whatever else, like it was like, I will never, people who want to make music out there, that's sellout nonsense. I'm like, you know what? Now I'm like, I've been enslaved to like having to earn money for the last 30 years. I think the people that are making money at their music actually have the right idea the whole time. Mm-hmm. The thing is, of course, I'm aware that the sound that I put out there, there's guys like Author and Punisher and, Skinny Puppy and Ministry and those guys broke through. But I think what I'm doing is going to be more of there are going to be people that really gravitate towards I do, and people that hear it they will know that I'm not totally full of shit. But I definitely think that what I make is pretty specific, and it's for a specific audience of people, and I'm ultimately okay with it. So
that makes sense.
I just want to address something in chat. Yeah, Milton Babbitt was one of the early computer musicians. He was actually a 20th century classical composer who was doing what they call serialism or atonal composition, and then he fell in line with all those early. Actually, that's a funny tangent. Like, if it wasn't for 20th century classical music, we wouldn't have a lot of these computing technologies because like Pierre Schaeffer was doing musique concrète back in the 1910s where he was recording on tape. Okay, we have it easy with DAWs. He was recording on tape and then hand splicing all of these different sounds together in like the earliest part of the 20th century to create all these different crazy sound collages, which you call musique concrète. All of this stuff, in a lot of ways, came up out of modern classical music. And because they were the ones to latch onto it because they were looking for something else to do. And then it filtered into like something that in a lot of respects I think is a lot more interesting. A lot of that 20th century classical music, I like it to a certain degree, but it's not like, you have to be it's very intellectualized and it's very cold. And the processes behind it are very fascinating, but unless you're going to go out and actually study those processes and have an idea what's going on, unless you're really into it, it's not really going to speak to you. But yeah, so sorry, I totally got sidetracked and I was making a point and I could.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, Abstract mentions that he uses DistroKid and BMI. I still haven't used. Do you use BMI or any publishing administrator?
ASCAP or BMI? No, that's kind of in line with my philosophy right now, where I don't really want to expand too much. I don't want to overexpose myself right now, where I'm really still. I think in another year or two, when I start hitting my stride more as a producer and the sound quality of my recordings matches more what I hear in my head, I think then I'm going to start to look around more at like and actually getting out there more in that respect. I'm not quite ready to put myself out there yet for those.
You have a more solid reason than I do. I just got complacent after I got a distributor.
Yeah, well, it's understandable. I'm sure you got stuff going on too.
I do have stuff going on, but it's like that's still something I wanted to do as soon as I got a distributor. But it's like, oh, I am on Spotify now. I'm a big boy. I don't know. Like, I think I got a little bit starry-eyed and got a little complacent there after that, when there's still a lot of money to be made. But I don't know. I still don't know if I'm big enough to warrant that. But it's still, I hear that it's good to get in on early, because you don't know what kind of money you're missing out on.
Yeah. I just want to speak to the chat again. Alex said that he loves classical nerd. Yeah, he's my composition teacher. And he's a totally awesome guy. Love talking to him. He challenges me like nobody else to improve my music making. But he's a really awesome human being, and yeah, he's really cool. So anyway, let's continue. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Abstract was saying I should do some live shows.
Yes.
I'm registered with BMI. Yeah, dude. As soon as I do live shows, I absolutely need to get on BMI. But for the time being, oh man, I do nothing live except vocalize, and right now with my setup, there's latency, so I'm a long way. And of course, the fucking stage fright. There's a few things I need to do before I can go live. But yeah, that's something I aspire to do. Anyway, now we're getting into the technical questions. One of them actually was about a publishing administrator, but I kind of organically asked that question already, so we're not going to do that one again. So the first question is, what do you use to make music? You touched on this too, like instruments, DAWs, mics, etc.
Why don't I do this? Right.
Okay.
Just give a little. Oh, it's a little haphazard. I see. All right. So that was a quick
wait a second. Wait, that's what keyboard is that?
This is the which one? The big one or the little one? They're both Novation. The little one's an FL Key 37.
I have an Ovation FL Key.
Yeah, I have the FL Key 37 because it's designed for use with FL Studio. I got it when I have a Novation Launch Key 88 because I wanted a full 7 octaves and a third keyboard.
I have a Novation FL Key too. That's cool.
And so I have 2 condenser mics. Yeah, that's the exact same one I have. Love that keyboard. The action, even though it's definitely like a plastic keyboard, the action on the keys is pretty good. It's pretty responsive for it. So yeah, I have 2 condenser mics. I have a regular condenser on the boom stand that screws into the bottom of your desk, and I have a pencil condenser. I have a Scarlett 6i6 as my audio interface, and I'm driving everything through an HP Envy. And the thing is I just ordered, and I'm totally stoked, from a company called PC Audio Labs. I ordered a PC, an audio PC called the Rockbox Mini that's going to have a Core i7 processor, 8 terabytes of storage, and 64 gigs of RAM on Windows 11. So when that comes, I'm going to be swapping that out for my HP Envy, which for a Core i5 processor with a 500 gig HDD is actually a pretty powerful beast.
Mm-hmm.
I've loaded the effects plugins and the tracking onto my DAWs, and it hasn't freaked out on me. But I want a dedicated audio PC. So right now on that, I'm primarily driving FL Studio and Reason. I also use, I don't know if you're familiar with Super Collider. It's like a musical programming language.
No, I don't know that. Musical programming language.
Yeah. It's so it's code that actually makes sound.
I'm sure that seems like something Alex would know.
Super Collider is rad. I got away from it for a little while. But basically, it's an independent development environment. So where you write the code, it's a sound generator and it's its own server. And you basically you can do all sorts of things with Super Collider. You can think of it as like a programming. It's like a programming effects rack. You can program the most disgusting brown noise or these crazy bleep loop sequences, depending on. You can live update, like you can input frequency ranges and live update them, and you can record yourself. So when I was using it, I would do like improv sessions when I was a little more proficient. I would like change the parameters and then create like a patch and then throw that in my DAWs for more noise.
Nice.
So what I'm getting at when I get my PC, my audio PC, along with FL Studio and Reason, I'm going to be putting Bitwig, Reaper, Ableton Live, Superior Drummer, the TuneTrack software, and this thing called Max MSP, which is like a visual programming language. And I mentioned Ableton. I want to build I don't have a lot of space for gear, so I want to build like a software ecosystem, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Traction. I'm going to be Traction as well. I'm going to be putting Traction on there too.
This is a small follow-up question. Also, to Alex, MusicSpace is Future Movement Beats, so you don't have to go anywhere. You're still on the server, if I'm not mistaken, unless you left. But anyway, that other way. One question I do have. This is not written down, but since we both have the same keyboard, after I updated to FL20, the pad stopped working. They stopped.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Oh, do you use the pads on the keyboard?
No, I don't. Yeah. See, that's a funny thing because I really need to get more invested in my MIDI controller as like a controller. It's a piano to me. It's a keyboard, and that's kind of like getting into Ableton. Is one of the things I want to do is I want to I'd eventually like to get out to play some gigs, but I want to do I want to write some music that has actual playable parts in it, and I want to figure out a way through using Ableton to have the computer play the backgrounds and singing and playing the instrument and doing something live streaming on YouTube. That's a goal I'm working towards. So yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask about pads because basically right now what I see a piano with a bunch of knobs on it. I need to get more invested in the MIDI controller in terms of its actual global functions and all that other stuff.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty lackluster on that front.
Fair enough. All right. All right. Just getting through these other ones. That's another. The other one was, do you use chip speech? But that came out organically as well.
Yep.
And the answer is no. What are your favorite tools to use?
There's another program that actually fits into my favorite tools. I don't know if you're familiar with Finale, but it's like digital staff paper. One of the things that's I learned to read music at when I was 6 or 7 years of age, and I will never you don't need to learn to read music now. It's not a necessity. But for my interest in classical music and for other things, it's a helpful thing for me because if I'm working on a chord progression, I can actually notate the chord progression in staff paper and develop it that way, and I have an actual record of it. So my favorite tools to use are kind of what I have. Oh, I also have my acoustic electric bass, which is
Hey.
currently has a condenser mic on it. I got this.
Nice.
I'm actually my new EP, which is going to be coming out in a few months, which is going to be called Facial Reconstructive Surgery.
What?
It's the name of my new EP is going to be Facial Reconstructive Surgery.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into details about that, but I'm going to actually be playing bass on it, and recording the bass. Oh, there's another piece of software I forgot to mention. Is anybody familiar with VCV Rack?
Sorry, what?
VCV Rack, Virtual Control Voltage Rack. Like, do you know Eurorack or modular synthesis?
Yes, vaguely.
Okay, VCV Rack is my musical crack. VCV Rack emulates modular synthesis, so you can build like Eurorack style patches, and then you can go like you can make all those fun sounds. And again, that's one of those things that I've learned my lesson to not start screwing around with VCV Rack at 11 o'clock at night on a weeknight. Because I'm like, I'll just fire it up for a half hour. I'll just put a VCA and a VCO and a couple of oscillators together, and then at 3:30 in the morning, I'm like all dry-eyed, like hunched over my keyboard, just like So VCV Rack, a lot of that stuff on my Blue Skies and on the soundtrack. A lot of that that voltage controlled oscillator stuff, that like meow, that's all VCV Rack. Look up VCV Rack when you get a chance. It's possibly my favorite piece of software because there are like 2,500 modules, and you can just you use virtual patching to patch like the out into the in over here, and then you control the knobs to go into different frequency ranges, and you can set delays, and it's really amazing. But I use a lot of VCV Rack, and again, I'm not a DAW purist. Like I think one of the funniest things to do is to go on like the ImageLine forums or like some of these forums and just listen to these people like geek out about how like people that use Ableton are losers, or it's like it's a really weird thing to me that someone can be so passionately connected to like a piece of software. But I find that like different softwares bring out different aspects of my thinking. Like I came over to PCs from Macs, so my first introduction to DAWs was using Logic Pro. And one of the things I like about FL Studio is there's a basic similarity between the way FL Studio works and the way Logic Pro works. Like I find the workflows to be kind of vaguely similar. But then I got into using Reason because it's way more organic. Like what Keegan, what is the name of this? So you have the playlist and you have the mixer, but then you have is it the rack where you have the line of instruments and you can punch in from left to right? Yeah.
I don't know what that's called.
But you know what I'm talking about.
But the channel rack.
The channel rack, yeah. Like when that whole workflow in FL Studio gives me a much more formalized approach. When I'm working in Reason, you can set your beginning and end markers in the record area, and you can just like comp. So like I can tap out drum beats. So what I'm saying is like I find different DAWs affect my creative workflow in different ways. And like I recently started checking out Bitwig because of a free offer through Loopmasters. I also use Loopmasters because I like to take samples and tweak the samples too. That's another thing I like to do. And I installed Bitwig, and it has a lot of amazing keyboards, and its workflow is more geared towards like a late Ableton type of live production thing. So I'm finding my thinking is affected differently there. So again, it's like I have space limitations, but I'm also finding that investing in different types of software, it forces me to think differently about my own creative process, and I get different results.
That's awesome. I still want to try using different DAWs. I was originally, I've only ever used FL Studio as my DAW. I want to get into different DAWs eventually. It's funny how the first DAW I ever tried doing, other than FL Studio, is by far like couldn't have been a more like far removed tool for instruments. I don't even know if it's even considered. I mean, it would probably be considered a digital audio workstation, but it predates a lot. It predates like modern DAWs. Like I tried fucking I tried a tracker. I tried using a tracker.
Trackers are cool.
Yeah. Because a lot of the music I listened to as a kid, a lot of the video game music from like just like online games, like I used to watch this. I used to play these. There's like this free to play. There's like this website. There was this website called Sploder that ran on Flash. And you could design your own video games as a kid. It was crazy. It was like YouTube, but for video games. And there were like, you didn't need to know any coding. There was like these there's like a bunch of these physics engines that you could just drag and drop shit. It was insane, you know?
Awesome.
It captivated the imagination. It's unfortunately, because Flash is gone, you know, it went kaput. It's dead now, which is very sad. But there's always a list of songs there you could choose from. And
cool.
it's tracker music. It's just tracker music. And I wanted to try to get into tracker music, and I started making synthesizer sounds on trackers, but it's such a different interface in so many respects.
I made one piece of tracker music as I would like, because I don't know if you like Aphex Twin or like Uzeek, but that like or like the jungle breakbeat thing where you have the detuned snares and that's all tracker related stuff. And I always really like you I always love the aesthetic of trackers, but to like really to like pull in the sample and set it up and have that like top down, top to bottom flow, and like you have to learn like what key commands to like make the sound stop. What it taught me is deep respect for people that can make really good music with trackers, because it's not easy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and I feel like because I want to do a live stream series where I learn how to use different DAWs and make makes a song with different DAWs. And I want to start with a tracker. I have a tracker and I downloaded a tracker. I want to, because I feel like if I can make a song on a tracker, I can make a song using anything, you know?
What tracker do you have?
I forgot the name of it. Let me check.
The one I have is called OpenMPT.
And that's the one I have too, OpenMPT.
It's freeware. It's a freeware tracker designed to run on Windows.
Yeah.
So I think
Alex, Sploder is still still here, but it I don't understand why the Sploder website is still here, but it's useless. You can't do anything on it. Yeah. Where was I going with that? Yeah. OpenMPT, Alex.
Yeah, Alex, check it out.
Anyway, another tangent.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have warned you. I'm capable of quite talkative.
So am I.
I can either say nothing at all, or I can just totally take over the conversation. So I apologize for that.
No, it's completely understandable. Again, I ask follow-up questions and I delay things more too. So you know.
True, yeah.
Where were we? Yeah. We touched on a lot of this already. Like, there's a question here that says, "What's something you still feel needs improvement?" But like, we talked about that way earlier, dude.
I mean,
it's your mixing, isn't it? That's what it is.
But I feel like I'm reviewing all of my college level classical harmony, because I feel like I can go back through and relearn the fundamentals. You know, I don't feel like there's anything. That's one of the things I got from John Coltrane, is like, Coltrane is one of my biggest musical influences, and this is a guy even at the height of his popularity, when he was practicing 8-9 hours a day, because he was so driven. He was Miles Davis's tenor saxophonist for a number of years, and he would actually record the entire set they would play, transcribe all of the parts, transcribe the piano part, transcribe the trumpet solo. He would go down in the club and practice between sets. And in my own way, that's kind of like, you know, and I guess what it comes down to is like, I want to know that when I finally am too old to do this, when my body is finally giving out, when my mind is going, I want
Yeah.
to know, like, my biggest marker of personal success will be looking back on this time period of my life when I'm finally actually getting my music out there, that I actually give it my all.
Yeah.
That I was never complacent, and it's like, oh yeah, I did classical harmony in college. I know everything about it. No, I don't. There's always something new to be learned, and I can keep visiting everything. So
Absolutely.
yeah, from one point of view, production and marketing are my weakest spots, but I'm always looking at how I can constantly improve in every area of my musicianship in some way, shape, or form.
That's awesome. Yeah. Fuck me. Alex said that OpenMPT has VST support. I'm trying to look into that.
It does have VST support. Yep.
So
I can verify that.
Cool. Hold on. Fucking manage plugins. I want to see if it shows up, or if I can find it. Cause there's no special process, right? If you have it, you can find it on your DAW, right?
It should be like, I haven't worked. It's there. I have it pinned to my taskbar, like the bottom taskbar, but I gotta.
Oh no, I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe it wasn't OpenMPT. I thought it was OpenMPT. Hang on. Fuck me. This is.
You know what? I think everyone here can relate to this. I'm someone that, like, I'm a naturally curious person, and part of the reason why I decided to do things this way is to dovetail all of my natural curiosity back to music. But like, there's so much out there that
find this. I'll work on this later. Sorry.
There's so much out there I want to keep knowing more about. You know, I think some people hearing me talk would say, "Oh, that guy knows a lot about music." And yeah, from one standpoint, I do. Like, you know, again, I studied theory in college. I did a lot of like counterpoint and harmony, and like did all of that stuff. But when you really look at it from another angle, like, I really don't understand a lot about how FL Studio functions. You know, my understanding of reason is very basic. Like, you know, there's always room to grow. And even when you guys are talking about the speech to text stuff, I have never heard of any of this stuff. So there's always an aspect of the musical art.
Yeah, dude, you and Alex would have so much fun talking. I feel like you and Alex could talk. Like, I'm sure Alex would love to introduce you to chip speech. I feel like you'd be very fascinated with it. I could show you chip speech.
Alex is already making comments. Alex is already making comments about Arnold Schoenberg and serial composers based on what I said about Milton Babbitt. So I think Alex and I are going to get along like a house on fire.
Oh yeah, for sure, for fucking sure, absolutely. Like, god, like, even like the moment I had a conversation with you in DMs, I knew that.
Sweet. And I knew that this was going to kind of turn into a musical geekazoid fest, so this turned out exactly like I was hoping it would.
Geekazoid fest, yeah. Fucking. Oh, I don't know where the fucking. I don't think my controller is connected. Is it connected? No, it's not. I just want to show you chip speech.
Okay.
Fuck me.
Sorry, I keep itching my nose. There's something going on in my apartment right now.
Good. It's all good. We might not be able to go through all these questions, but honestly, that's fine.
That's fine. I'm not snorting lines of coke on the side. I just want to assure.
Oh God.
Yeah, I actually am gonna have to jump off myself shortly.
Okay, that's fine.
I gotta catch up with my wife soon. I would love to come back on again and talk to you some more if that wouldn't be too imposing.
No, that's fine. We can find a time to do that. Fuck me, I can't. Sorry, there we go.
While you're doing that,
plugged it in.
While you're getting out there, I just wanted to extend. Abstractius is on here, and I wanted to extend like a bit of gratitude to him. You know, he's one of the people that I met through the Unity and Spinit crew, and he's we've only known each other a little bit. We had a long conversation on Discord one night, this long winding text chat. He asked me a question about my music, and we ended up chatting for a bit, and then he played Blue Skies on his stream. But like, I'm gonna say, I think he's one of the coolest people in our space because he takes time. You know, he for free he lets people submit music, and he takes time out of his day to actually listen to music and give them real feedback based on what he's hearing. And you know,
he's a real one.
He's really committed to you know, to trying to help us all make some progression with our career, and I'm really happy that I know him at that point. There's other people I could single out. Juju Made It's awesome. Junkie Overtones is awesome. Summer Lee Carlson is awesome. Alex is apparently awesome, even though I don't know him. I want to get to know the guy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
I'll
Who
show
else
you
was
some.
it
I'll
on
show
there?
you some of his songs. On
Okay,
YouTube.
cool.
Yeah,
but and also Vox and Music too. I don't really know him too well or her too well. Sorry if I'm getting.
I believe I don't actually know, but I think it's a she.
Okay, but
At least
Vox and Music
at least
here,
I've said she. At least
seems really.
yeah.
Please correct us if we're wrong. But anyway, I was really hesitant to engage in social media because, like I was saying, I really don't like the way social media is so toxic and just encourages people to act like total douchebags or whatever. I really hate it. And coming into the UNEU Spin It crew, like everybody that's in there is really chill. I think Junkie Overtones is pretty like hands on about not letting any riffraff hang out, but yeah, it's really nice to have a musical community like that. Where people are actually committed to helping one another out and really doing what they say. I'm really stoked to post my daily spin stats and retweet people because it's just like people actually they have some regard for one another. So it's really pretty cool. And if anybody doesn't know about it, you should definitely check out You Spin It. It's an awesome community.
Yeah. Alex. Yeah. Anyway, I want to show you. I just want to quickly show you Chip Speech here. I have it pulled up. I have my keyboard controller connected. Okay. I'm just gonna.
Sorry, last thing to say, Vox and Music. I deeply apologize. It is definitely male bias to assume all musicians are men.
Yeah.
And that is totally wrong of me to do that. So from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. There have been a lot of amazing women musicians, a lot of amazing musicians who are female out there too, and we should not forget that. So
absolutely.
Thank you for correcting me. So anyway, yeah, let's see this.
Yeah. Okay. So here's Chip Speech. I have it connected to my keyboard controller. They are belong to us, all your days are belong to us. Yeah. I can bring it an octave lower to make it.
I actually still can't hear anything. I don't know if it's because you have the streaming software running, if it's disabling the Chip Speech. Let me open a tab and tap that in there.
Yeah, you might have to mute me so it's not like I won't say anything.
All your days are belong to us. All your days are belong to us.
Oh, okay, yeah, this is what Alex was talking
about. All your days are belong to us.
I still can't hear anything. I don't know if...
Can't? Well, I know it's coming through my end.
Oh, there we go. I had to unmute Discord, that's why.
I can hear it through your microphone.
Oh, you know, I had to unmute Discord, that's why.
I can hear it through your microphone. Oh, God. The feedback, no. Oh, God. Ah.
This experiment is getting a little out of hand.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. I will definitely be checking it out.
Yeah, definitely check out Alex. Definitely check out Alex's Chip Speech work, and I'll show you some of mine if you're interested as well.
Yeah, please. Can you maybe in Discord, or if Alex can do it in the chat, post a Spotify link or something that will help me find you?
Alex is not on Spotify, but
okay.
I'll send a YouTube video for Alex.
Okay, yeah, please do. And
yeah.
I also would like to connect with Alex if he'd be into that. I'd also like to connect with Vox and Music too. So you all can let me know if we're in the music space. Just feel free to hit me up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We can do like a group chat if you want like that.
Yeah, let's do that sometime. I am actually kind of a little shy, which I know may sound funny. It takes me a minute to warm up to situations, but this is definitely
exactly the same way. I'm exactly the same way. It's gotten less and less of a problem over time, but I feel that.
Yeah. This has definitely been helpful. And,
yes, it is. Alex, it is. Yes, it is automation. I'm going to show him automation. I hope that's okay. I feel like that's my favorite song of yours.
Okay. And Keegan, I got to say, I feel like you and I are becoming good friends, and I'm definitely appreciate the fact we had a chance to connect.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah, actually with this, I got to take my leave.
Okay.
Go catch up with for a bit. But thank you so much for having me on and letting me talk at you for 2 hours.
That's fine. That's fine. That's why we're here. I couldn't get through all the questions, but I didn't know if we were going to anyway with the rate we were going at, so that's fine.
Well, again, if if you're down for scheduling another interview, maybe we could pick up where we left off, and we could just do the
That's
rest of the
fine.
questions later.
That's fine. That's fine. No, knowing our dynamic, it'll probably be just as long as this one.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. So, and for everybody that tuned in and stuck around, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah,
Much
yeah.
appreciated.
Again, really, for me too. Thank you for being here. Absolutely.
And the last thing I'll say is, I have my EP facial reconstructive surgery that I'm working on. It's more of a controlled voltage type of industrial noise, and then I have more of ambient industrial thing that I'm producing using Reason. What's going to be my second EP? That'll be out sometime after that. So I'll be posting updates on Twitter and other places. So
yeah. Cool. Definitely check that out. Do you have a hyper follow or like a link on DistroKid I'll check out?
No, it's not at that point yet. I don't even have the art.
Gotcha.
I just have the basic song kernels worked out and
well, I'll retweet. I'll retweet it.
Yeah.
I'll retweet it when you tweet about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you for coming through.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay. All right. So, yeah.
The awkward ending.
The awkward ending. Yeah. So that was streaming with Keegan interviewing Paul, aka the Department of Industrial Accidents. This was dope as hell. I'm really happy that we had this conversation, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream. My next live stream will be we check at the calendar here. It is going to be my music listening stream, but not my playlist review. It's going to be a music listening stream, not too dissimilar from Abstracts, where I don't necessarily provide like, I'm not necessarily critical, but like, if you want me to, I can give you advice if you ask for it. But for the most part, it's kind of just a place to like appreciate artists, lift them up. But
what is the date for that?
It is next Monday, same time.
Next Monday. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So that about does it. Thank you guys for coming through, and I'll see you in the next live stream. Bye.